My past may be checkered, but my future on the show might be questionable. Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Raphael and I'm here to review season 15, episode 4 of the Real Housewives getting kicked out of a charity event of Atlanta. We start the episode off with Kenya and Moneta in a dance room and they're going over the choreography that Moneta has put together for Kenya's performance at the HBCU. Kenya, she's a little worried because, she performed at last year's BravoCon and it wasn't the best because I do remember seeing the clip and, it wasn't her best, but it wasn't the worst either. Yes, she was sweeping the floor with her hair in her back, but, it was just one bad performance. We have to remember what happened last week on this show, between Candace and Drew. I love me. All right, that's enough. So it can't be that terrible, but she wants to replicate the whole Kenya Moore hair care moment. And I don't know if that could be done again. That was a moment in time that was still iconic to this very day. So I'm not sure, but she could try. In the middle of their choreography, they get a phone call from the man that Kenya is dating, Roy, who is also Moneta's friend. And from what I'm seeing between Roy and Kenya and their connection, it seems that Kenya is really into him. So hopefully, we get to see more of that and hopefully he's the right one for her. And hopefully we get to see Roy on the actual show and not through a phone call. But then again, he probably saw this show last season and he probably saw Marlo and he's probably looking at Kenya like, you know what, I'll come on camera once Marlo loses her peach. Then I'll come on. And then she says in the confessional, I knew that he was the right one for me. And, the only thing that really mattered was that he's good in bed. And I'm like, oh my, Kenya, you already test rode the dick? No wonder she answers the phone so happy to talk to him like, hey, Roy, how are you? I'm with Moneta right now, your friend. We're in a dance studio. You want me to send you the location so you could come over and say hi? Are you coming over to Moore Manor later? I could cook you dinner, whatever you want. I'm happy to see you. I'm so happy that you're in my life. Because anybody who's getting bad dick, they're not answering the phone all happy and, excited. They're answering it like, who is it now calling me? Oh, it's him again. Why is he calling me? Then we head over to Sanya's house and she's with her mom and her sister Sheree. She's on the phone with her assistant who's also Sheree's husband. She's giving him a rundown of what she needs done and what's not done and he's basically not doing anything. And Sheree, if looks could kill, Sheree was just looking at her sister as she's ordering him around even though that's his job. And I don't think that she was too fond of it. I mean, she was just looking at Sanya like, yeah, yeah, a lot of things aren't checked off. Yeah, that was a good joke. Bitch. And then Sanya, she hangs up and she looks at Sheree and she was just like, Ross was telling me the other night that he wants the house between me and him again. So you basically have to get the fuck out, So Sheree, she's not understanding that, nor does she want to accept that. She's telling Sanya, but I mean, you said that we could stay with you. Like, what's happening? Why are you changing your mind? Sanya, she lets her know, yeah, you could stay with us for like a year or two. And, the time is up. So, pack your stuff and, get the fuck out. But again, Sheree's not understanding that. And I understand her only in the aspect of Sanya did tell her family to move in with her so they could help her out, help her career, her goals, her whatever, to keep her together. But at the same time, there was also a time period, Sheree, that Sanya told you. It was 1 or 2 years, and now time is up. So just pack your stuff up and, leave with dignity. Why are you fighting against, somebody who doesn't want you in the house anymore? Not in a bad way. It's just, they also want their own space as well. And you, being a grown woman, and your husband being a grown man, you both have children. So wouldn't you want your own space? I'm pretty sure that Sanya can help you out. She could give you one of her gold medals, maybe 2. You could pawn that, and maybe you could buy a house or apartment or something. Whatever a gold medal gets you. And she wants to blame the whole thing on, oh, well, who's going to take care of Deuce while Sanya and Ross are doing X, Y, and Z? I mean, that's none of your concerns. I'm pretty sure that her and Ross, they probably took that into consideration as well. They still want you to get the fuck out the house, though. So she's taking it personal in the confessional. She calls Sanya self-centered, like, oh, she's so self-centered for this. And I'm like, how is Sanya self-centered, or let alone Ross self-centered, for wanting rules for their own house, for their own family? Like, make it make sense. So she gets up and she walks away and she's upset about it. And Sanya's like, oh, I feel sad. I can't believe this. I don't want her to walk away mad. And Sanya, you're way better than me because even though that's my sister, I would have told her, you know what? Since you want to walk away mad, walk out of this house right now and don't come back. And tell your husband that I no longer need his services. He can't even do a proper checklist correctly. Like, that's pathetic. Like, his useless ass. And you know what? Fuck Juan Dixon. I don't know why I said that, but I don't know. I felt like it was needed. we catch up with Marlo and her nephews getting ready for a Halloween photo shoot. And if there's one thing that you could give Marlo credit for is her fashion and her Halloween costumes every year that she does. She always goes all out and she looks good. So then we see Crystal, the iconic Crystal from last season, Marlo's sister. She shows up and I'm looking at Crystal like, run, run. And like, Marlo is 2 seconds away from giving her nephews back over to you again for another season. Run while you still can. But she decides to stay, and Marlo, she goes on to say that she wants to get her record, you know, the whole thing that happened 20 years ago with the girl and everything. She wants to get that, what's the word? Expunged? I never heard of that word. I had to Google what that meant. Expunged, to, you know, just get rid of something on your record. That's what she wants to get rid of, because, you know, everybody's constantly throwing that in her face, every other season, every other episode, every other second. And even if you do get that whole situation expunged, we still have more things to dig up that we could throw in your face as well, Marlo. Like the man with the credit card, you know, where does your money come from? Where's the house from last season? Like, you can't expunge that. But, you know, she goes on to tell Crystal, you know, I just can't with these women on the show. You know, every single time, they're always talking about what I did 20 years ago. And I'm sick of it. You know, I want to move forward in life. And I just can't continue this. And then she starts describing some friend. Like, oh, yeah, I found out about this friend. I have this friend that's so amazing. She's caring. She's so helpful. So I'm thinking, okay, they're about to introduce like a last minute cast member onto the show. Come to find out it's Courtney. I'm like, Courtney's the friend? And Courtney's your reliable source? All right, good luck getting anything expunged. But, you know, so then next thing you know, Courtney pops up, and so then the Funko Pop, she starts, you know, with Crystal, like, oh my God, hi Crystal, hi Crystal, hi Marlo, how's everything, Oh my God, Marlo, you look so nice in your costume, I love your costume, oh my God, where's William, I love his costumes too, yeah, we need to get everything expunged. And then she goes on to tell Marlo, or she goes on to tell us that supposedly her job, or what she does, she's a crisis manager, and I'm like, really? A crisis manager? Yeah, you were causing a bunch of chaos the first 2 episodes with Candy. Interesting. And then she goes on to say, you know what? I'm kind of like the Olivia Pope. Like, you know, I'm kind of like Olivia Pope. And I'm like, so you're fucking a president? Like, is that what you're trying to say? In a broom closet? Like, please, Olivia Pope. First of all, Kerry Washington, I'm so sorry. Somebody call Annalise Keating quickly to dig up some dirt on Courtney to get her off the show, because what? Olivia Pope, like, oh, but okay then, so that's that. So then Marlo's favorite subject, Candy, she starts talking about the whole shooting again to both of them, and she was just like, you know, I can't understand with Candy, you know, why nobody wants to talk about the shooting and what happened to Quentin, and I can't believe that, you know, she's just so heartless and I can't do this anymore, and we need to figure out what exactly is happening at Candy's establishments that all these shootings keep happening. And I'm like, okay, Marlo, the thing is, Marlo, I just don't understand what her end game is. Like, is it to try to like throw dirt on Candy's name, like her reputation, her history, something? Because it's not working. Even if you dislike Candy, you can't say anything bad about her, like that she's not honest about it. She was honest about everything. So I don't get what she's trying to dig up here. You know, I don't get it. And then on top of that, I watched Candy speak on it on her YouTube show. And Candy, you know, she basically made Marlo look like a clown, because she basically said that this whole situation that Marlo is talking about, she's making it seem like it just happened recently. It happened 3 years ago. And then when the text message that we saw last week, they edited out to make it seem like, oh, Candy was kind of heartless, that she was just kind of like, oh, well, damn, I'm sorry for your loss. No, they kind of talked about it more in detail. And, you know, Candy was just like, oh, okay, I get it. It's unfortunate. But Candy also said that Quentin, this is all allegedly, according to, you know, to her YouTube channel, but she said that Quentin worked at one of her restaurants for like 5 seconds, and then the pandemic shut everything down, and then she never saw him again. She saw him like maybe once, I believe, and she never really crossed paths like that with him, and that was it. And then Marlo and her, they still talked even after his death. Like, Marlo was talking about something else, like a whole different conversation. She never brought up like, oh, I feel some type of way that you weren't really there for me, or that you weren't really, you know, feeling too sorry for me, or send balloons or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just looking at Marlo like, okay, do you think that Candy's like Mother Teresa or something? Like, what exactly does she owe you? Like, what does any job owe anybody? You know, like, if somebody leaves their job and something just so, if you get into a car accident, do you want a job that you used to have 10 years ago to call you and say, oh, I'm so sorry for the car accident that you were just in last week? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, I don't get what she wants from Candy. Like, I don't understand it. And on top of that, she's saying, oh, I want Candy to be there for me. Candy's worldwide and she could do all this for her friends. Why can't she, let me use the word correctly, why can't she expunge? Why can't she expunge my record? And I'm like, so what, is Candy like the fairy godmother or something? Like bippity boppity boop boop exchange? Like, no. Like, Marlo is crazy, and I love Marlo, but she is coming off extremely delusional, especially aligning herself with Olivia Hope, which Candy called her Olivia Nope. Then we see Sheree heading over to the clinic. Come to find out that she has fibroids in her uterus and she wants to find out if there's different options on getting it removed. The doctor is telling her that there is a surgery to be done to take it out, but it might put her on bed rest for maybe 2 to 6 weeks, I believe. Sheree, she's not okay with that because sex and her exercise life is a big portion of her life. And, I'm thinking, that's her option. She could do whatever she wants, but I'm thinking if it's for the benefit of your health, your life, your whole body in general, I would assume that maybe you could put those two things on pause. I'm pretty sure that neither one of them are going anywhere. Well, maybe Martell, he might go somewhere else with somebody else, but, allegedly, but we don't know that yet. And then she tells the doctor, I can't really be put on bed rest like that because I have a lot going on. And I'm like, what do you have going on, Sheree? But okay, so then she tells the doctor, if I was her, I would have not disclosed this, but she tells the doctor, oh, well, I have She by Sheree to run, that's a whole big empire, that's a company. I can't just put that on pause. And I'm like, Sheree, I promise you, that could be put on pause. It's been put on pause for what, like 15 years now, ever since the first season. I promise you, another year or a couple of weeks, it's not gonna destroy it. So then the doctor, she starts looking at the little graph or whatever of like inside of her. So she starts playing around with Sheree like, Sheree, have you been trying? Like, have you been trying? Insinuating that Sheree might be pregnant. And I'm like, doctor, please, like, stop it. How much did Sheree pay you to say that? But Sheree, she was just like, wait, what do you mean? Like, trying? Like, what? And then the doctor's just like, oh, no, I'm just joking around. And I'm like, all right, we could wrap the scene up. Let's go. Next. Like, doctor, not you as well, playing along with Sheree's foolishness. Like, enough. Sanya pops up to get her hair and makeup done for something that she has going on. She's there with her parents, and typically her sister Sheree is the one doing her hair. But not today. Today's a whole different story because Sheree, she just so happened to call in sick today, so she can't make it. So childish and so petty, so nasty and so rude, Sheree. We all know that you're not really sick. You're just upset because of the whole situation that you and your husband have to get out the house and now you're feeling salty about it and now you want to stay home and you're probably in bed, cuddling with your unemployed husband, telling him, oh yeah, I showed her today. And he's probably encouraging you like, oh yeah, thank you, babe, for having my back. Like, that is crazy, but you know what? I can't really blame her because I'll probably do the same thing. Sanya also lets us know that her assistant, who's Sheree's husband, also quit on her, so now she has no assistant. And I'm like, wow, they really did you dirty, Sanya. They gave you a 2-for-1 combo. They say we're gonna quit and we're gonna call out sick all at the same time. And can you imagine that though? Because typically when you leave a job or when you quit a job, sometimes it's bittersweet and you kind of burn that bridge and you just never have to see that person again, probably for the rest of your life. But in this case, he has to see his former employee at home. So that must be awkward because let's say he's just walking around the house. He's going to get food in the kitchen. Next thing you know, Sanya walks by. He looks at her. She's looking at him. And, that's her former employee. That's his former boss. And, now it's awkward. And Sanya's probably looking at him like, so how's the job hunting going? Like, that must be so awkward, and it also develops tension in the house. And there's not enough room in the house for tension because we already have like 1,000 people living in there. So tension is trying to squeeze in there as well. But that is crazy though. But Sheree and your husband, if anything, just get out of the house. Like, look at the friction that you're causing between each other. And it's not worth it because family, like what's his name? Like Vin Diesel said in Fast and the Furious, family comes first. And I just don't think that you should be playing these childish games. Like, Sanya is not in the wrong. She's giving you a heads up. It's not like she's putting an eviction notice or whatever in your room, or at least I hope she's not, like, oh, get out by 2 o'clock tomorrow. Like, it's not happening like that. She's trying to ease you out, but you're not getting it. So we finally get Kenya's trip to Birmingham, Alabama on the go for her charity event and her surprise performance that the cast doesn't know about yet, except Moneta. So they're all arriving at her house one by one to get on the bus. And it was very awkward to see Funko Pop Courtney and Marlo show up, because I get it. You can't exclude anybody or any cast member from cast trips, but realistically, Kenya would never invite Courtney, let alone Marlo, to anything that she's doing, let alone for charity. So it was just very unrealistic. You could tell that Kenya just did not want to interact with either one of them. She was just kind of like, okay, get on the bus. They're paying me for this. Come on, let's go. And that was it. Marlo, she wasn't really talking to anybody. Courtney, you could tell that she was desperately, well, then again, she's always desperate to try to fit in and try to have a conversation when she was just starting things with Candy, like for 3 episodes straight. So, and speaking of Candy, she's not there because she's opening up another restaurant in space. No, she's receiving some type of award. And Drew, she's also not there because she's sick of Ralph lying to her all the time. But so they're not there. And no matter what you say about Candy, she's boring, she needs to get off the show, blah, blah, blah. I feel like without Candy, the whole dynamic of this group that we have on this episode is very awkward. And it just, I don't know, I feel like it wouldn't mesh well, because Candy, in my opinion, I feel like she's the last piece of glue keeping everybody together, or at least keeping her and Kenya kind of together to everybody, because without her, Kenya is just kind of there. I mean, yeah, she's friends with Moneta, but Moneta's just there and everybody else is just kind of there. And I don't know, I just don't see any true friendship without Candy there. So it'll be very interesting to see if Candy ever was to get off the show, who will we have left? But, let me know what you think about Candy's absence on the show. So we finally get the show on the go. We have Kenya, Moneta, Sheree, Sanya, and we have Bobblehead and Marlo in the trunk. So they're driving down, and as they're talking, saying, no, driver, can you turn the bus around, please? Just drop me off here. Like, that is so nasty. They started talking, and Kenya, she's coughing up a lung. Marlo, she's coughing all over Sanya's hair. Like, that is so nasty. You're in a confined space like that. Like, that is very gross. No wonder Drew got sick. Like, that is, I would have just turned the whole bus around. If I was a driver, I would have just gotten out. Like, you know what? Never mind. Producer, you could drive this bus to Alabama. I'm going home. Like, that is crazy, and that is so gross. That is so nasty. And I believe Kenya, she starts talking to Funko Pop finally, and she's like, oh, so wait, are you single, or like, what's going on? And, Courtney is just so excited, like, wait, you're talking to me, Kenya? You're talking to me? Like, a peach holder is talking to me, a friend of the show? What, me? Not Marlo? I mean, yeah, I'm kind of single, but not really. But I mean, I could be single for the weekend. And I'm like, wow, Courtney. I mean, she was so excited that Kenya was acknowledging her for the first time, but I'm not really sure if her situation that she has going on with Bryce, if that's a thing, if they're together, not really, or at least that's what I thought, but whatever. Eventually, Kenya drops, a surprise on them, and she's like, okay, so we're gonna have like this dance thing or whatever that we're gonna be participating in before we check into the hotel. And Marlo, she's upset about it. She's like, oh, of course, Kenya, she always wants to surprise us with things like, why? You know what? I don't even have any type of clothes for charity, but you know what? It's Alabama, so it's okay. And I'm like, Marlo, just have fun with it. It's a cast trip. Be happy that Kenya even invited you, or at least production allowed you to come. So then Sanya, she brings up the topic of eating ass, and Sheree, she's quick to say, oh, no, I would never do that. I would never do that. And I'm looking at Sheree like, I don't know. I feel like Sheree, it's crossed her mind before. I don't know. But Sanya's like, oh, no, I would never do that. If Ross was to stick his ass in the air and tell me to do that, I would never do that. I mean, what would I do? I wouldn't know what to do. And I'm like, well, Sanya, I mean, Google's our friend. You could search up what to do. So then Sheree, she throws Kenya right underneath the bus, and she tells Kenya, you've done it before, right? Like, what was your experience like with that? And I'm like, what? Not Kenya. And I was with Sanya, not Miss USA. Like, Kenya, Miss USA was eating ass? Like, what? So then Kenya's like, oh, yeah, I did it back in my 20s. Sheree goes on to say, oh, I didn't know that eating ass was a thing back when you were in your 20s. Like, that is crazy. And to me personally, eating ass wasn't like a thing until Janae Aiko mentioned it in her song years ago when the lyric said, "You gotta eat the booty like groceries." After that, I feel like the whole act itself became popular, at least to me. Like, it was never a thing in conversation until after that. After that, everybody wanted to say, "Oh, I ate so and so's groceries." Like, it was like a thing. It was like trending. It was like a fashionable thing. So Kenya goes on to explain that she only ate the guy's ass because the guy didn't enjoy her head. And I can see that because I can see Kenya. I feel like Kenya, the way she gives head is like this. Like, she's not really into it, and you have to be into it. You have to put your all into it because it's a work of art. You have to get sloppy with it, Kenya. You have to. Oh, so I've heard. And there's nothing wrong with eating ass. Yeah, the act itself, it could sound a little questionable. It could sound a little nasty to people, but once you get back there, and you spread it, and then you put your you tickle the asshole with your tongue, it might taste good a little bit. Oh, so I've heard. And then Marlo in the confessional, she's like, "Oh no, I would never lick anybody's ass, but I might like my ass licked myself." They arrive at a dance studio with a dance instructor who's gonna teach them how to buck. Marlo, she says that she doesn't really know anything about bucking, but she does know how to get low with her Meg Thee Stallion knees. So he's teaching them choreography, and for the most part, they all know how to keep up with it, except Sheree. I don't know what she was doing. And then Kenya and Moneta, they're like, "Okay, we're gonna judge a bucking competition, so get your choreography together, and we're gonna leave, and then we're gonna come back to judge." So they'll go away. Marlo, she says, "Oh, of course, there goes Kenya with her emotional support person." Marlo continues talking so much shit. But they go away. I'm not really sure why they went away. They went away to take pictures, and Kenya's just taking pictures of her ass and everything. Moneta's getting all the good angles. Meanwhile, in the other room, they're still learning choreography. Bobblehead, she was actually keeping up. I'm pretty sure she was keeping up because she was just like, production is watching me. If I don't keep up with the choreography, they might not give me a peach for season 16. Let me keep dancing. So Kenya and Moneta, they come back. They want to see the choreography. Everybody did good, including Courtney. Sheree is the only one who was she was off beat. She looked like Ashley Darby trying to make TikToks. Just all over the place. And then Marlo and, Marlo and Sanya, even though Kenya said that they were dancing like strippers, I liked the way they were moving, especially Marlo. She was just crawling on the floor in between Sanya's legs. So Kenya, she goes up to them and she tells them, "Okay, so I have one winner in my hand, and the winner is Sheree." And Sheree ends up winning. I'm like, Sheree, really? But then again, look at the other options. Marlo, she would never give her a win no matter what. Courtney, she's not doing that out of Candy's alliance. Sanya, no. So she had to give it to Sheree, and Sheree's happy about it, like, "Oh, yay, good. I'll give you a She by Sheree sweater when we get back home, blah, blah, blah." Marlo, she's upset about it, and I would have given it to Marlo, but again, it's Kenya. She's not doing that. So Kenya tells her, "Oh, you're going to get the biggest room out of everybody at the hotel." Not that that matters, but we'll get to that. After dancing, they go to a restaurant to sit down and eat. Courtney, she gets a phone call from her ex, Bryce, and he's asking her about her whereabouts and when is she going to be back home. And I get it that they have children together, but if he's your ex, why is he asking you when are you going to be back home? But then again, maybe this is what she meant on the bus when she said that she doesn't really know if she's single, that things are complicated. Maybe they have an on again, off again type of relationship. So who knows? So she hangs up. Kenya tells her that she used to know a Bryce, but he used to be in a music group. So Courtney was just like, "Oh, yeah, no, that's definitely him. That's him. He used to be in Groove Theory, like Bryce, like, yeah, my ex, yeah, he used to be in Groove Theory. That's definitely him." So Kenya was just like, "Oh, Bryce, yeah, I used to know him. We were actually in a movie together, Twa. He was actually my co-star. That's him." So then all of a sudden, Bryce, he calls her back, and then he gets on FaceTime with Kenya. She starts greeting him like, "Oh, hey, Bryce." And I'm like, wait a minute, are we having the same situation with Drew last week? Because I assumed that Drew and Bryce, they have some type of past together. So the producer, they asked Kenya in the confessional, so wait, did you used to date Bryce? Like, what's going on? And Kenya's like, no, no, no. He used to be a beautiful man back in the 90s, but no, we have no past. That's that. And it is what it is. So then I believe Sheree, I think it was Sheree or somebody was just like, oh, so wait, was everybody getting along at Drew's singing thing? If that's what we want to call it. And I believe it was Sheree or Kenya or Sanya. It was somebody. They were like, well, actually, there was an issue between Marlo and Drew. So then that's when Kenya spoke up, and Kenya said, yeah, Drew actually called me, and she said that things got pretty heated between her and Marlo was standing over her, and she was so aggressive, and it was just out of control. And I mean, it's true. And then Marlo, she gets upset, so she cuts her off, and she's like, oh, no. No, absolutely not. That's not true. If you were not there, Kenya, please don't speak on the situation. So Kenya was just like, why are you speaking over me? I'm trying to speak. Like, let me speak. Marlo, she wasn't backing down, and again, just blowing this whole thing out of proportion. And she was just like, oh no, I could speak over you whenever I feel like it. Who are you to not speak over? And I'm like, Marlo, like, come on. Like, Marlo is just, she's looking for a fight for some reason. And for some reason, Marlo doesn't see this in the long run. It's not going to benefit her. I'm telling you, they're going to end up icing her out. And for some reason, I just feel like her peach it's just gonna be flung, and she's not gonna have it anymore because of her own doings. Like, she's just coming on too strong, and I just wish that her, Kenya, and Candy, and just the whole cast just could get along. Like, we could still have a fun show, even with them just getting along. Eventually, you know, there's gonna be some drama. People are gonna bump heads eventually, but Marlo is like, that's her number one goal. Like, must fight, must fight, must fight. Like, that's what the housewives think. Like, that's the housewife mentality nowadays. Like, you know, as soon as you come onto the show, you need to fight somebody in order to secure your spot, and you just don't have to do all of that. But they get to the hotel, they check in, and they all go to their separate rooms. Sheree, she goes to her master suite that she won in the dance competition. She walks in and she's looking around like, what is this? This isn't a master suite. What kind of room is this? And to me, the room looks nice, but I mean, I guess they're used to a certain lavish lifestyle, I suppose. So then we see Marlo. She's in her room, and, you know, she couldn't wait to open up the door and start talking shit. She walks in and she's like, oh my God, what is this? What's going on? What kind of champagne bottle is this? Why is it so tiny? First of all, I didn't know that they made champagne bottles so tiny like that. That was kind of cute. I would have put that shit in my shirt, like, I'm gonna save this for later. But she's looking around, and she has like 20 people in the room, like her makeup, like hair people. I'm not sure who the people were that were in there, but, and on top of that, she's traveling with Chanel pillows. She takes out these giant pillows, she throws them on the bed. She's still complaining. I think she started complaining to her makeup artist, and then she starts coughing like, oh, this room is so terrible. It's so tiny. What is... And I'm like, ugh. I hope you're paying her extra for that, but... Then we see Kenya, she's in the lobby. She reunites with the nanny of Brooklyn, and Brooklyn is also there. Brooklyn is so adorable. She's hugging her, but she can only be with her for a second. And, you know, she's gonna be there to support her or to watch her mom, you know, perform at the event or whatever she's doing. So then eventually Kenya goes upstairs. They're all getting ready for this cocktail attire event, right? Or so we thought. So Kenya, she comes downstairs. She's waiting on everybody in the lobby. Then we see Moneta, and she shows up wearing astronaut realness. She has on this bodysuit, like this jumper up to her thighs. Kenya, she's not happy with this look because she feels that it's unclassy. You know, we're going to a charity event. We need to dress cocktail attire. Or so she thinks. So Moneta, she's like, okay, so what do I wear? And Kenya's like, I don't really know. You need to go back upstairs and change. And poor Moneta, at least she tried, you know, so unfortunate. So she goes back upstairs. Kenya, she's getting impatient. She's getting annoyed. She gets on the bus with Bobblehead and Sheree. Nobody's really there. So eventually Moneta calls her like, oh, I think I have a black dress. Kenya's like, okay, I don't really care. We're going to leave anyway. So they leave. And then I believe Marlo and Sanya, they arrive together. Marlo is still complaining about the whole, you know, Kenya, this whole event, the hotel, just being miserable. And they all get together. Moneta also arrives at the same time as them. They go into the building and they're all looking around at what everybody's wearing. And I mean, I thought that everybody looked okay, or at least nice. I'm not really sure what cocktail attire means to Kenya, but Sheree's telling Moneta, yeah, you could have wore your jumper for this. And basically this whole charity event, if that's what you want to call it. It basically became BravoCon 2.0 because everybody was fascinated with them. They started recording them, taking pictures, trying to take selfies, etc., etc. Like the whole charity became a Real Housewives thing. So they're all walking around awkwardly. What's her name? Marlo. Marlo looks the best in my opinion, which was so ironic because she's wearing a snake print dress. So she's at the bar, she's getting champagne with Sanya, my type of person. And they eventually get down at the table, and I believe Kenya's just looking around like, oh, so there's no seats, there's no nothing, you know, this whole thing is attached to her name. So she feels the pressure. And eventually I think that they go upstairs because they want to get a nice view of the building or whatever. And then production, I don't even know how long they were there at the actual event, but production, they go up to Kenya like, oh, Kenya, can we speak to you for a second? So, you know, they're asking all of you to leave. That is so disrespectful. That is crazy. And Kenya's like, wait, why? Production is like, no, you guys are causing too much attention, you know, too much glitter, too much this. The lights are all on you. Everybody's asking for you and asking for pictures. They want you to perform Gone with the Wind Fabulous. And it's too much. So Kenya's like, oh, okay, I mean, I guess. So they sit down. Marlo, she's popping the champagne with Sanya. Again, my type of person. And they start dancing, and Kenya's like, oh, well, maybe we could all have fun together at the hotel. And they're like, wait, what do you mean at the hotel? Like, we're here for this charity event, no? Kenya's like, well, they're asking us to leave because we're drawing too much attention, and it was just very unfortunate. And, you know, Marlo and Sanya, they're like, oh, no, we're not leaving yet until we start dancing. And, you know, I'll be so upset if I change my outfit or if I'm wearing a really nice outfit and, you know, we were only out for like 2 minutes and then we have to get back home. Absolutely not. We're going to the nightclub after this. There's nothing that I dislike the most when I wear a nice outfit in public, you know, for like 5 minutes and then we have to get back home. Like, no, not enough people saw it. They get back to the hotel, so Kenya gets out of the bus. She tells everybody, good night, I'll see you guys later, and she goes to her room. I'm pretty sure that she's embarrassed and she doesn't want to be seen on camera anymore. So everybody else, they're all reuniting at the lobby. They're all trying to figure out, like, what happened with Kenya? Like, why is she acting like this? Like, is she not telling us something? And, I mean, it's pretty simple. This whole event was attached to her, and you all got kicked out, so I'm pretty sure she feels some type of way. It's pretty, you know, it's pretty simple. I'm not really sure what the mystery is, but then eventually they're like, okay, come on, Scooby Gang, we're going upstairs to go investigate. And they start knocking on Kenya's door. And I believe it was Sheree first. She started knocking on Kenya's door. And I'm like, okay, why do we need Kenya to have fun? Why can't all, 6, 7 of you just go out by yourself? You don't need Kenya. Like, so they continue knocking on the door. Sheree, she starts up first. And then I believe Sanya, she knocks on the door next. And then Marlo. This is where Marlo she just continues pushing it, right? So she starts banging on the door and she's like, you know what? Summer's over. Winter is coming. And I'm like, ooh, that sounds like a good line from Pose. So then I believe she starts banging on the door. Like, she's not knocking, but she's banging on it. And she's like, come on, Summer. Summer, come on, let's go. Summer, come out. And then we see a knock from the other side of the door, right? Kenya, she's banging on it. And I think she starts yelling like, who is banging on my door? Who's doing this? And Marlo, she continues doing this. And I'm like, Marlo, do you want an actual physical fight? Like, I feel like that's what she wants at this point, because I'm not understanding why she keeps trying to push buttons like this over and over and over again. And she doesn't know when to stop. You know, at some point, just relax. It's not that serious. So she keeps banging on it. And she's like, come on, Summer, come on. Let's go. Come outside and play. We need you to come outside. Then she starts kicking it. And I'm like, Marlo, again, what's happening? Kenya, she finally opens up the door. And I think that she was naked or undressed or whatever. And she was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Who is knocking on my door like this? Why are you banging on my door like this, you fucking psycho? And I mean, at this point, it's deserved, because again, you're literally banging on, first of all, you're banging on the hotel's door like this. You know, I'm pretty sure that there's other people around. And then on top of that, she says that Brooklyn is in here. My daughter's in here. Why are you banging on the door like that? Could you imagine, like, Brooklyn, she's inside like, oh my God, well, like, what's happening, Mom? Like, what's happening? And Kenya, she's probably feeling nervous. Like, is it Marlo? Is it somebody else? What's happening? And you know, Marlo, given what you went through, what you just explained to us, that, you know, people were banging on your door and they, you know, broke into your house, you would think that you wouldn't try to do that to somebody else, yet here we are. And, you know, she continues banging on it as Kenya is actually answering the door. And if Kenya would have came outside and just started swinging on everybody, I wouldn't have been upset. Maybe she probably would have knocked out Moneta by mistake. Like, oh, I'm sorry, Monietta. I was aiming at Sanya and Courtney and Marlo, and you kind of just got caught up in the fire. I'm sorry. Here, let me help you. But that was crazy. And then Kenya, she slams the door. Marlo, she continues. Summer, come on, let's go. And I think that Summer is Kenya's middle name, if I'm not mistaken. But again, Marlo, just so uncalled for. And then as Kenya tells her, like, Brooklyn is in here. My daughter's in the room. Please stop. Marlo, she doesn't care. She's like, oh, I don't really care. That's some bullshit. You need to put Brooklyn in a different room yourself. And I'm like, Marlo, like, oh my God. It's almost like Marlo, when she gets like this, it's like all she sees is red and she doesn't really understand what she's doing or what she's saying, because you're literally telling somebody to put their daughter in a different hotel room. Like, and I know that the excuse is going to be, oh, well, we're filming a show. You need to be a part of it. We all have to film. We all have to get, out here and do our job. I'm pretty sure that that's going to be her excuse. But again, her daughter is there. She was just filming the whole night. So again, just insane. And, it just goes back to show you that Marlo is just quick to throw somebody out her house. And now she wants Kenya to do the same thing. And just a mess. And what's so funny, what's crazy is that in next week's preview, we see something happens to Kenya. And then Marlo, she starts doing a prayer for her. Okay, well, with that being said, that was the episode. Let me know what you all thought about this whole episode down in the comments. Bye, everybody. Mwah.